Boswell, in July, 46 House Democrats sent a letter to Secretary of Labor Walsh asking him to revive a 2011 proposed rule issued by the Obama Labor Department that restricted youth employment on family farms. In 2012, DOL withdrew the past rule or proposed rule after farmers across the country, Democrat and Republican members of Congress, and other government officials raised substantial concerns. What were some of the concerns with the 2011 proposed rule?
Thank you for the question. The proposal under the Obama administration was completely misguided and made broad sweeping changes that completely blindsided the agricultural industry. I was at American Farm Bureau Federation at the time. There was no discussion before that proposal came out with the ag industry or engaging anyone that would have firsthand experience with farming practices. While saying that it protected the family farm exemption, it is completely false. In the proposed language, it limited the structure so that if I worked on my dad's farm and he was and the farm was an LLC, I no longer could work, as if the legal structure in today's farming makes any difference of my dad's care about my health and safety. Also, I mentioned my nephew in my testimony. He lives 5 miles from my dad's farm. He's worked with my dad and again, hopes to be a farmer. Under that proposal, because he didn't live with my dad for 30 days at least, he would not be covered under the parental exemption. Similarly, for the student learner exemptions, it limited and restricted which of the hazardous occupations the student learner exemption applied to, basically only then providing that learning ability for driving a tractor, and there was an exemption for elevations above 6 feet, but handling animals. An example that this would have restricted many FFA students by cattle. They take care of that herd, including their health and vaccination schedule. They wouldn't have been able to do that in that learning program. And then it expanded the hazardous occupations. You couldn't drive a tractor, any size. You couldn't operate power-driven equipment, including lawnmowers, fixing a fence near livestock, corralling livestock, or being in any animal pen with an animal that would have unpredictable behavior. Frankly, if this proposal would just be simply revived without having an informed discussion with farmers and ranchers who want to be at the table, it would be met with vicious opposition. And there's a healthy dose of skepticism that the promises of keeping the family farm intact and those student learner exemptions would hold true. Again, there's room for conversation, but just reviving that broad sweeping proposal would have dramatic impact on agriculture as we know it.
Yeah, I think it would probably negatively impact the 4-H students that raise livestock for the youth livestock auctions at the county fairs all across our Commonwealth. And I see how the kids really enjoy raising those animals, but they have to clean the pens. They have to make sure they have to go in that pen and be able to care for the animals. So I think that would probably impact that also, wouldn't it?
It would. It's not just showing up at the county or state fair. There's work that goes into that all through the summer and the spring. I know I showed pigs at the fair. We purchased the pigs. I was in charge of feeding them. I was in charge of cleaning out their pens. I was in charge of taking care of them. And that was part of the work that was being performed. So if not done with proper information, it would certainly limit those opportunities for 4-H and FFA students to interact with their livestock that they're preparing for the fair.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Boswell. Another thing, today we're discussing the health and safety of young people working in agriculture. But as I said at a recent hearing, we cannot ignore the elephant in the room, which is that President Biden's border crisis is a man-made disaster. Illegal aliens and drugs are flooding the country at record levels with no end in sight. The open border has also endangered the health and safety of young people under 18 years old who are trying to cross the southern border. Would ending the border crisis, stopping illegal immigration, and building the wall help alleviate danger posed to the health and safety of young people who have been encouraged to cross the border by the Biden administration's open border policies?
I agree that addressing border security will help alleviate the dangers that are being inflicted on vulnerable young people that are crossing the border.
Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. I want to recognize